Hey guys, and welcome back to The Social Save. I've got another video for you guys today, and today's video is my testimony. I've not got any notes, so I'm going to try and share it off of the top of my head, top of the dome. I'm going to try and keep it quite brief and succinct, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so basically for me personally, I didn't grow up in like a Christian home. My parents aren't born again believers. Obviously I think they have like a belief in God, but like I didn't grow up going to like church every single Sunday and stuff like that. But my grandma was a Christian, and my grandma is a Christian. She's still here. And my grandma used to bring us to church with her, so we would kind of have like that random church experience every now and again. But from a very young age, I remember being in church and just looking around at the church and being like, wow, if these people believe in God and they have nothing, like these people serve God, are worshiping God, and like they don't have any nice cars, they don't have any nice mansions, they don't have anything nice. So like, if God is real, why hasn't he blessed his people, you know? And I just kept thinking, like, why aren't they rich? Like, if you really believe that God can do anything, wouldn't he give you all the money in the world? Like, do you know what I mean? And all the opportunities and best careers, you know? If there's, how is there celebrities and billionaires out there and they don't even believe in God, you know? So I kind of used to always think that, so that was kind of like my first kind of like, I know, real like thought towards like God and Christianity and faith. So then anyway, like life continues, and I remember as I got older, my sister became a Christian, started going to church, I watched her get baptized, and I remember thinking like, wow, there's something she knows that I don't know. Do you get what I mean? Like there's something she sees that I don't see. And I just remember thinking that, but there wasn't really much to it. Life continues now, and I'm in sixth form. And I would say this was one of the most pivotal, influential points in my life. I was in psychology. I did psychology in sixth form. We had two teachers. One was like a white man, he was older, he was really like harsh, quite strict, quite bitter. And then we also had like a woman who was a black woman. She was a lot younger, she was quite like encouraging, joyful, she was always in a good mood, very like nice to us, but also quite strict, like was really on it, but like was just really like caring and really believed in us. And we just had like a good attitude, we were always positive and stuff like that. And I remember like the topic of religion came up in psychology, and like how it can affect like cognitive behavioral therapy and stuff like that, and whether people even get those kind of like treatments because of faith. And I remember the man teacher had basically said like, religion is for the weak-minded. Religion is for people that can't come to terms with the fact that God is not real and life is purposeless. And I remember being like, whoa, like what? I'd never known that. I didn't know that, like what? And I remember being upset that day, but not sure why. Like I was upset, but I was like, okay, like maybe he's right. But one of my friends at the time was really good, like really strong Christian, and she was like kind of, you know, that really upset her. So I was like, yeah, I get it. Do you know what I mean? Like what? And then we told our other teacher, and she was like, listen, I don't agree. And she was a Christian, but she couldn't really rebuttal it because as a teacher, you're not allowed to necessarily share your own personal faith and belief. So I remember her kind of being like, yeah, I don't really agree, but I can't really say too much. But then I looked at both of their lives, and she was really joyful, excited and happy about life, just optimistic. And he was quite bitter and quite like, do you know what I mean? Really strict, and, you know, didn't really, I don't say have much going for him, that's quite a strong thing to say, but like, you know what I mean? But that always like kind of stuck in the back of my head. So anyway, now life continues, and I go to uni, and I'm in uni now, and I'm in first year, and I have a conversation with my sister who's a Christian, and we're just talking, and it gets really heated, really heated. And I don't know how we got into the topic of faith, but it got really heated. And I remember at the end of the argument basically shouting, I am never going to believe in God. I am never going to believe that there's some man up in the sky, because if there is, why do these evil things happen? I remember talking about tsunamis and natural disasters, and like just being like, if there's a God, why is he letting people suffer? You know, that age-old question, you know? And I kind of said that to my sister, and we just had this massive argument. And like I said, I ended the argument shouting in her face, like, I am not going to believe in God. And she burst out into tears, bless her. And she was so like, just heartbroken. Like, how can you say that? Like, I like, just so upset. And I remember thinking, like, why is she so upset? Like, what does it matter if I believe in God to her? Like, do you know what I mean? But anyway, obviously I went and apologized, that we kind of like, you know, ended that there. But for the next year after, I think something spiritually unlocked in that moment, because for the next year, God hunted me down. hunted, like when I say hunted, you guys don't understand it, hunted me down. Like, as in, everywhere I went, God was coming up, like just in different random places, in conversations with my friends. I remember one point I was laying in bed with my ex and God came up. How? Like, what? I remember I was like, listening to, like, I would be listening to random songs on like Apple Music and it would shuffle to a worship song and then I'd be in tears. Like, the most random things would happen, just this overwhelming conviction about the Holy Spirit. And I remember, like, at the time, a loved one passed away and I was at a funeral, and I just remember hearing like people speak about God, and this like just people just speak. And I think that's the time I heard Psalm 23, which is obviously one of the most well-known psalms. But like, I remember just hearing people talk about God, and like just again having that think, maybe he's real, like, you know, maybe this isn't all made up and maybe there actually is a God, but still very reluctant to accept that as a fact, kind of thing, just like, okay. But yeah, kind of aware that maybe I was wrong. Life continues, life goes on, and I remember there was one specific night I was in my room and I was on the phone, I was on FaceTime to my cousin, and me and her were talking, and then the doorbell rang, and I was like, my mum downstairs, I'll go get it. And then it rang again. I was like, oh, let me go get it. Do you know what I mean? So I ran downstairs, opened the door, and these two girls were there. Never seen them before, never seen them since. But they stood there and they just told me the gospel. Like, they just told me the truth. They made me aware of my sin. They made me aware of who God was and who Christ is and what he's done for me and the fact that he was returning. And they just like spoke just truth. Like, literally just the truth, like about how if you were to die tomorrow, like, where would you go? Like, who, like, you know, what would be your future? Like, what's your relationship with God? And I just remember standing there thinking, like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And it, at the time I felt fear, I'll be honest, but not like a fear of hell, like a godly fear, like a reverent fear of there's something bigger than I am, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but anyway, now, they didn't pray with me, they didn't give me a flyer, they didn't tell me what church they go to. Maybe they did, but maybe I don't even remember. But I just remember going back upstairs. No, I went to my parents actually, and I was like, so why didn't you open the door? And they were like, the doorbell didn't ring. And I was like, yes it did. And they were like, no it didn't. So I was like, okay, what? So then I remember going back upstairs to my cousin, being like, sorry I was gone for so long, there was two girls there and they were talking to me. And I was kind of like talking to her about it a little bit, and she was like, you weren't even gone for that long, like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what? And I remember that night I was going to bed, I was lying in my bed like, what is going on? Because this was after a year of like God just on me. Anyway, now, once again, being the stubborn girl I am, I was like going back to my old life, like gonna just do whatever I want to do. So continued just doing what I was doing. And I remember not long after that, my sister actually invited me to like a church drama. And I remember it was on Halloween because I was gonna go back to uni for a party because obviously that's where I want to be. But like, I was just really tired. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay in London. I'm going to see my sister because I've been telling her I'm gonna come to church, and then, you know, I'll go back to uni tomorrow. So I went with her, and I'm not gonna lie guys, I was just expecting some little shabby play in a church, like a random hall with some kids, and then to like leave. Like, it ended up being this whole production, oh my gosh, in this massive auditorium, and it was one of the best. I love theatre, so I've seen a lot of things in theatre, and that has to be one of the best like drama theatre productions I've seen. And it was basically a modern day version of Noah's Ark, and it like was basically like Noah crying out to the people, God is gonna flood the earth, you need to like get on the ark, you need to listen to him, you need to heed the warnings, like I'm creating this ark. And them all thinking he was a madman. I'm like, okay, God's gonna flood the earth, sure, how's he gonna do that? And like him being like, no, God's gonna flood the earth, God's gonna flood the earth. So then anyway, now I was just listening to this, and what was like, even the play was amazing, but for me what was standing out was the fact that these people were being warned and they were rejecting the warning. And that was exactly where I was in my relationship with God. Like, I was being warned and I was rejecting the warning. Like, God was telling me, I'm coming back, I want to know you, I want to pull you into a relationship with me, and I was saying, hell no. Do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely not, I won't. Like, do you know what I mean? And I was just consistently rejecting God. And so the play is fantastic, it ends and there's an altar call, which is where they give you an opportunity to respond to God. And once again, that question's asked again. If you were to die today, where would you go? What would you say to God? Like, if God is real and is about to judge you, which he is, what what can you say to God? And I knew in that moment, I could not say I had not been warned. I could not say that God didn't send someone to tell me the gospel. I could not say I wasn't aware of the fact that he was real. I knew in that moment I had to respond to God. Every part of me, like, and I don't even remember like putting my hand up to respond. It all happened very fast. I just, like, once again felt this overwhelming, like, godly fear. And I was just like, I know this is the truth. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. And obviously there's still like those odd questions in the back of your head, but you're just like, you just have this overwhelming sense of, I need to respond. So I gave my life to Christ. I prayed a prayer. I went back to uni. And although I was still maybe externally looking the same, internally something had changed. I like actually wanted to find a church. So I started going to church, as I was around Christians, I started to realize some of the things I was doing was wrong. Didn't have the power, the strength to change them yet, but I was aware of the way that I was living wasn't surrendered to God. So I was still like sinning, but I was saved. And I knew my life was God's and not my own. And that first year of salvation was messy, very, very messy. There was a lot going on, and I lost a lot of friends. As I started to make some radical decisions for God, to put my foot down, I lost a lot of friends, and even like got distant from a few family members, and like it was really hard. And people started to say like, oh, she's just going through a phase and she'll like, you know, grow out of this. And you know, like I just remember thinking, man, like I'm doing all of this and am I sure? Like, do you know what I mean? Am I sure? Because I'm saying I want to be a Christian and I'm making some big sacrifices, but nothing about me is changing. I remember one time I told a lie, and I called my sister and I was like, Alex, I lied. Oh my gosh. I was crying on the phone to her, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hell. Like, oh my word. Like, do you know what I mean? And like, I'm not changed, and I made all these decisions. I'm telling everyone I'm a Christian. I'm not really a Christian. And my sister was like, whoa, calm down. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, let's just pray. And, you know, and it was just like, it was mad. Like, it was a rough first year, and there was breakups and friendship breakup. There was a lot going on. And it wasn't easy. But one thing I will say is like, there was a point where I realised God wasn't looking for perfection. I'd moved back home, it was after uni, I was praying, and I used to weirdly pray in my sister's room. I don't know why, but I used to feel like it was more spiritual in there. So I'd go and pray in my sister's room, and I remember one time I was praying, and like I said, I was just constantly messing up, like just in the small things, but like, you know, just not being perfect. And I remember saying to God, look, mate, literally on a friendship vibe, like, mate, I don't know if I can be perfect. I don't know how many times I'm going to need to sin and repent, how many times I'm going to need to get right with you. But listen, I know you're real. So for as long as I know, and for as long as I live, I'm going to try and get back right with you every time. No matter how many times I fall down, I'm going to try and get back right with you. And that day, I made a vow. And even though I had been saved prior to that, that was a day I think I came into realization of what real like Christianity is, what walking with God really looks like. It doesn't look like perfection. It looks like a relentless like just clinging to the cross, just trying to be as close to him as possible. And it's about relationship. Another thing recently I realized is I was sitting in church and it was right before the service, and I was just watching just different people doing different things. I was supposed to be praying. Clearly I wasn't. But there were people praying, and there were some people setting up the drums, the mics, sound desks, someone setting up the camera, just everyone doing different things. I was just watching the different people serving in the house of God, and some people were praying, someone was writing out their offering, and I was looking and I was just thinking, these people are rich. And it was just a complete parallel of when I was younger and I looked at that church and thought these people are poor and have nothing, and if God was real, why wouldn't he give them everything? I was now looking at the people of God and being like, they're rich, not in material things, but in love, in joy, in peace, in like kindness and goodness and righteousness. They're rich. And actually material things don't matter. Do you know how many celebrities who have everything, billionaires have everything, still kill themselves? Do you know how many people like climb to the top thinking it's going to fulfill them and get horrible depression, get addicted to drugs because it's not enough? And then there's people in the house of God who, yeah, some of them are extremely successful. Like, you know, there's people that go to our church that are really, really successful. Some people have 6-figure companies, and do you know what I mean? Like, really like successful people. But like, there's people that are just blessed with their family and their homes and buying houses and relationship, marriages, babies, all these amazing things. Like, there's a lot of people in my church that are blessed, but at the same time, none of those like material things actually matter. It's the fact that they're rich in these things that you can't buy, that money can't buy, that the world can't give you, that people will spend their whole lives chasing after. These people have in abundance. You know how much peace people pray for? Peace, freedom, deliverance from addictions, from like all of these different things, and people in the church have it in abundance. And for me, it was like a parallel, and it kind of came full circle. And yeah, if you're not right with God, and you are listening to this and you feel this sense of like, maybe God is real, or maybe you're in that year that I was in, where you feel like God is constantly chasing you down, and now you've fallen onto this video, and you're like, is this God calling me out again? Yes, it is. He's telling you again. He's asking you again. He's warning you again. And getting right and becoming a Christian isn't this big hoo-ha. It's as simple as a prayer. And if you want to make that decision, not to be perfect, but to be a relationship, then reach out to me, and I will direct you in how to do that, and how to get right with God, and how to start that relationship, and what to do next. I hope this video has blessed you guys. I hope it's encouraged you guys. And yeah, that's my testimony, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.